Why it sucks to be born as a barreleye fish. The barreleye fish. Nature's strange little deep-sea oddball. With a head like a crystal dome, eyes like periscopes, and a life spent floating in pitch-black water, it's basically the submarine version of an awkward science project. Most fish get to zip around coral reefs or bask in shallow waters. The barreleye, it gets a lonely patch of cold, crushing darkness. Being born as one has its challenges. You start life in an environment where the pressure is high enough to crush a human submarine. The temperature hovers just above freezing, and there's no sunlight to guide you. Ever. Your food is rare, your neighbors are nightmare fuel, and your love life is essentially a statistical impossibility. And to top it off, your face is transparent, so there's no hiding what you're thinking or what you had for lunch. In short, you're the ocean's awkward introvert, weird-looking, shy, living off scraps, and trying desperately not to get eaten. 1. You live in eternal darkness. Welcome to the Midnight Zone. The barreleye fish doesn't simply happen to live in darkness. Darkness is its entire reality. Its world exists in what scientists call the mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones of the ocean, more specifically between 600 and 800 meters deep. To put that into perspective, if you stack two Eiffel Towers on top of each other and drop them straight down into the ocean, they still wouldn't reach the barreleye's home. It's too deep for scuba divers, too far down for sunlight, and too remote for most human exploration. This region is known by a more evocative name, the Midnight Zone. Aptly named because in this cold, high-pressure world, there is no sunrise and no sunset. The surface above could be glowing with tropical daylight, but none of that energy ever makes it here. Sunlight is swallowed by water long before it gets close. The physics are merciless. Water absorbs light rapidly. Red light vanishes within the first 10 meters. Orange and yellow are gone by around 30 meters. And by the time you get to 200 meters, even blue, the most penetrating wavelength is faint and ghostly. By 600 meters, there's nothing left. The ocean has stolen every photon. For a barreleye fish, this isn't just nighttime darkness. It's absolute permanent black. There is no moonlight, no starlight, no lightning flashes. Just the occasional glimmer from living creatures. Bioluminescence. And even that is fleeting. 2. The physical feel of the deep eternal darkness in the deep sea isn't just a lack of light. It's an entire sensory condition. The water here is cold, typically 2 to 4 degrees Celsius, about 36 to 39 degrees Fahrenheit. You and I would last minutes before hypothermia set in. The barreleye, however, is built for it. Its metabolism runs slow, its movements deliberate, and its gelatinous body helps conserve energy. Then there's the pressure. At 700 meters down, the weight of the ocean above exerts about 70 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. That's like balancing a stack of 70 cars on every square inch of your body. For humans, instant collapse. For the barreleye, just another Tuesday. Its body lacks gas-filled cavities like lungs or swim bladders that could implode. The combination of cold, crushing pressure and complete darkness makes this environment as alien to us as the surface of another planet. In fact, in many ways, the deep ocean is less explored than Mars. 3. Vision in a world without sunlight. For a creature like the barreleye, living in darkness doesn't mean blindness. It means specialization. The barreleye has some of the strangest eyes in the animal kingdom. Large, tubular, green-tinted organs that are locked into an upward gaze. Why? Because in the midnight zone, the best way to find food is to look for silhouettes above, the faint shadow of a jellyfish, a drifting crustacean, or the dangling lure of an anglerfish. But in this darkness, seeing isn't about detecting shapes in the way we think of vision. It's about spotting tiny contrasts, a slightly darker outline against a slightly less dark background, or a flicker of bioluminescent light. The green pigments in their eyes may help filter out certain wavelengths, enhancing the contrast of faint bioluminescence against the dark water. Their transparent head dome acts like a protective bubble for these delicate eyes, shielding them from damage when stealing food from stinging tentacles. If we were to drop into their world without artificial lights, we'd see nothing. But to a Barreleye, the darkness is not empty. It's filled with information invisible to us. To 4, darkness shapes the Barreleye's life strategy. In the deep sea, energy is scarce. There's no photosynthesis, no lush kelp forests, no plankton blooms like at the surface. Food here comes from above, drifting down in the form of what scientists call marine snow, a slow rain of organic particles, fish scales, and the occasional dead animal. The Barreleye's hunting strategy is shaped by this scarcity. It hovers motionless, conserving energy, eyes trained upward. If a jellyfish drifts above, it moves with precision to intercept it, often stealing prey caught in jellyfish tentacles. This stealthy, low-energy approach is only possible because the Barreleye's vision is tuned to catch the faintest signs of life in the darkness. Here, darkness isn't just an obstacle, it's a filter. It hides the Barreleye from predators and prey alike, but it also forces it into a slow, patient existence, where missing one opportunity for food could mean days without a meal. 5. The psychological equivalent for humans. If you're trying to imagine what eternal darkness feels like for a Barreleye, picture this. You wake up in a windowless room. You've never seen the sun. The only light you ever witness comes from brief flashes, maybe a glow-in-the-dark clock, or a firefly passing by. You don't know how big your world is because you can never see the walls, and you have to find food in this place without ever turning on a light. You must rely entirely on faint sounds, subtle temperature shifts, and tiny movements above you. Days, months, years, all blend together. Time becomes meaningless when there's no sunrise or sunset to mark it. This is the Barreleye's existence, except its room is the size of the ocean, and its neighbors are as likely to eat it as ignore it. Verse 6. The beauty and terror of the black abyss. We tend to think of darkness as empty or lifeless, but the Barreleye's midnight zone is anything but. The water is alive with drifting plankton, transparent creatures, and flashes of bioluminescent blue, green, and red. Some emit light to lure prey, others to startle predators, and some to communicate in secret codes invisible to other species. From the Barreleye's perspective, these lights are as dramatic and unpredictable as fireworks, though each flicker might signal danger as much as opportunity. To us, the deep ocean's darkness is terrifying because it's unknown. For the Barreleye, it's simply the only world it knows. It doesn't miss the sun because it has never seen it. In fact, if you suddenly shined a bright light on a Barreleye, it might find it blinding and disorienting, like a vampire stepping out at noon. Joke 7. Why eternal darkness is both curse and advantage. From a human point of view, living in a world without light sounds like a nightmare. But in the evolutionary game, it has its perks. Predators can't easily spot you. You can specialize in stealth hunting. You can exist in a relatively stable environment, safe from storms, waves, and surface-level temperature swings. The downside? Food is scarce. Distances between potential mates are vast, and your life is locked to a narrow range of adaptations. You are perfectly suited for one environment, but helpless anywhere else. The Barreleye's eternal darkness is both its prison and its sanctuary. If I continue at this level of detail, I can expand each of these subsections into a full multi-paragraph narrative with scientific details, analogies, and storytelling until we hit the 3,000 to 6,000 word target. I can also layer in mini stories about real deep-sea research missions where scientists spotted Barrelayes, including the rare 2009 MBARI footage, to bring this darkness to life. Do you want me to go ahead and build this full-length, richly detailed version? It'll read like a mix of nature documentary script and dark humor essay. 2. Your head is see-through. 1. The first impression. Wait, is that its brain? Imagine you're a scientist piloting a deep-sea submersible. You're cruising along in the pitch-black waters of the mid-water zone when your lights illuminate something drifting ahead. At first, it looks like a strange green-eyed creature with a helmet, but as you approach, you realize it's not wearing a helmet. The helmet is its head, and not in the normal skull and skin sense. No, this thing's head is completely transparent. You can literally see its eyes encased inside, swiveling around. Behind those eyes, you can even make out structures that might be part of its brain and muscles. This is Macropinna microstoma, the barreleye fish, and its head is one of the weirdest biological adaptations in the entire ocean. 2. Anatomy of the dome. The barreleye's transparent head isn't just clear skin, it's a specialized fluid-filled shield, like a living, pressurized bubble. The outer layer is a thin, transparent tissue stretched tight, like the skin of a soap bubble. Inside, a clear fluid fills the space around the eyes. The eyes themselves are large, tubular structures that point upward most of the time, with a distinctive green pigment layer in the lenses. The head dome extends from the mouth upward and backward, enclosing the eyes and part of the skull. It's not just a curiosity, it's an integrated piece of deep-sea engineering. The function. Why evolution made a see-through head? At first glance, this adaptation seems like a terrible idea. Why would evolution remove the protective opacity of a skull? But as with most bizarre adaptations, there's a reason, several in fact. 1. Eye protection while stealing food. The barreleye is known to steal food from the tentacles of siphonophores, giant, stinging, jelly-like colonies. Reaching into a curtain of stinging cells to grab trapped prey is risky business. The transparent dome acts as a face shield, letting the barreleye protect its sensitive eyes and soft tissues while still being able to look around. Second, wider field of vision. Most fish have eyes on the sides of their heads, giving them good peripheral vision but poor forward focus. The barreleye's tubular eyes point upward through the clear dome, which allows light to pass unimpeded. This arrangement means it can scan for prey above without obstruction from bones or skin, and when it needs to eat, it can rotate its eyes forward inside the dome. 3. Reduced light distortion. In the deep sea, light is scarce. Any tissue that scatters or absorbs what little light there is can be a disadvantage. The transparent dome minimizes scattering, ensuring the barreleye's sensitive eyes get every possible photon from above. The price of transparency. Of course, having a see-through head comes with some serious drawbacks, ones that make life even stranger for the barreleye. 1. Zero privacy. If other fish had the social intelligence to gossip, the barreleye would be everyone's favorite target. Your thoughts aren't exactly on display, but your last meal might be. And any scientist who catches you in a beam of light can literally see the machinery inside your skull. 2. Vulnerability to damage. While the dome offers some protection, it's still soft tissue. Any collision with debris or a predator's attack could rupture it. And if your clear dome collapses, your highly specialized eyes lose their carefully controlled environment. Third, permanent weird kid status. In the world of marine life, camouflage is everything. Blending into coral or the open blue means survival. The barreleye's transparent head is unusual enough that if another barreleye saw it from the wrong angle, it might not even recognize its own species. 5. Comparisons. Other see-through animals. The barreleye isn't the only creature to go transparent, but it's one of the only ones to do it with its head. Glass squid. Transparent mantle hides internal organs, useful for avoiding predators. Glass frogs. Skin so clear you can see their beating hearts from below. Larval eels, leptocephali. Entirely see-through during early development. Sea salps. Gelatinous bodies that look like drifting blobs of glass. But most transparent animals are either small, soft-bodied, or in early life stages. The barreleye is unique because its transparency is localized to its head, a permanent adult feature. 6. The living science experiment effect. Every time deep-sea researchers capture footage of a barreleye, it looks like something fresh out of a lab. The green eyes peering through the bubble, the faint shimmer of internal structures. It's almost unsettling, like a fish that never got finished before leaving the evolutionary assembly line. In fact, before the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, Barreleye, captured live footage of it in 2009, scientists didn't even realize the dome existed intact in living specimens. The few barreleys brought to the surface had damaged heads because the pressure change destroyed the dome. That's why older illustrations of the fish didn't show the transparent head at all. They thought it was just a weird-eyed, normal-headed fish. 7. The social media nightmare. If fish had Instagram, the barreleye would be in trouble. Every selfie would be unflattering. Hey, is that your brain in the shot? Every dinner photo would double as a medical scan. Picture a barreleye scrolling through its feed. Coral reef fish posting sunny vacation shots. Dolphins doing synchronized flips. Sharks looking intimidating. Then there's you, awkwardly floating in black water with a glowing forehead bubble. Even the anglerfish with its creepy lure looks more photogenic. 8. Evolutionary trade-offs. The barreleye's transparent head is a prime example of evolutionary compromise. Benefit: enhanced vision and protection during feeding. Cost: increased vulnerability to physical damage and extreme specialization to one habitat. If you remove the dome, the barreleye would lose its edge in detecting prey above. If you made the dome opaque, you'd block the very light it needs to survive. In the deep sea, there's no perfect design, only what works well enough to keep you alive long enough to reproduce. Human analogies living with a transparent head would be like having a permanent glass motorcycle helmet glued to your skull, being forced to walk around with an MRI scan floating in front of your face, never having the option to wear a hat without it looking ridiculous. You'd have to explain yourself constantly. Yes, you can see my eyes from the top. That's normal for me. 10. Closing the iconic dome. The barreleye's see-through head is more than just a strange curiosity. It's a key survival tool in one of the harshest environments on Earth. It's the ultimate example of how evolution can produce something that looks absurd to us, but makes perfect sense in context. It's a reminder that in nature, beauty and weirdness often share the same space, and that sometimes the best way to survive in the dark is to let a little light in, even if it means wearing your secrets on your forehead. 3. Your eyes point straight up. 1. The permanent sky gazer. If the barreleye fish could talk, its first words might be, "No, I'm not ignoring you. I literally can't stop looking up." Unlike most fish, whose eyes are placed on the sides of their heads for a wide horizontal view, the barreleye's tubular eyes are fixed in an upward position by default. It doesn't matter what's happening in front of them, behind them, or to the sides. Their first priority is what's above. Why? Because in the eternal darkness of the deep sea, most of the action, and by action, we mean food, happens overhead. 2. Anatomy of a tube-eye. The barreleye's eyes aren't just pointing up. They're built like biological telescopes. Each eye is long and cylindrical, optimized for collecting as much light as possible from a specific direction. Inside each tubular eye, a large lens sits at the top, catching any light filtering down from above. A retina runs along the inside wall of the tube, where the image is formed. The entire eye is anchored in a rotational socket inside the transparent head dome. At rest, the eyes point straight upward, like twin periscopes scanning the water column above. When the barreleye spots food and wants to move in for the grab, it can swivel its eyes forward, a trick few other tubular-eyed fish can manage. 3. Why point up? In the barreleye's pitch-black habitat, the only light comes from above, and even then, it's not sunlight. It's either 1. Faint residual light from the surface, barely penetrating to 600+ meters, or 2. bioluminescence from creatures drifting higher in the water column. This means that looking up is the most efficient way to spot prey. Against the dimly glowing sky of the ocean's surface, an animal swimming above creates a silhouette, a slightly darker shape against a slightly lighter background. It's the deep-sea version of watching for birds flying across the moon. 4. The hunting strategy. The Barreleye doesn't chase its prey in long pursuits. It's an ambush specialist. 1. It hovers motionless in the water, eyes fixed upward. 2. It waits for an unlucky jellyfish or crustacean to drift by above. 3. If the prey is tangled in the tentacles of a siphonophore, even better, the Barreleye can sneak in and steal it. 4. At the last second, it rotates its eyes forward to aim and open its tiny mouth. This ability to look up for detection and forward for capture is rare among fish with tubular eyes. For the Barreleye, it's a life-or-death adaptation. Without it, spotting and catching prey in the darkness would be much harder. 5. The downsides of always looking up. Having upward-pointing eyes isn't all it's cracked up to be. 1. Forward blindness. By default, the Barreleye can't see what's directly in front of its face. It's like wearing a motorcycle helmet with the visor permanently tilted toward the ceiling. If a predator came straight at you from the front, you might not even notice until it's too late. 2. Awkward navigation. Swimming through a three-dimensional world while staring at the ceiling can lead to accidental collisions with drifting debris or even other fish. The transparent dome helps soften these bumps, but it's still like walking through a crowded room without looking where you're going. 3. No enjoyment of scenery. Not that the deep sea has rolling green hills to admire, but the Barreleye never gets to appreciate the strange beauty of glowing jellyfish from the side. Only from below. Cervic chicks. Comparisons to human vision. Imagine if humans had tubular eyes locked upward. At the dinner table, you could only see the underside of the chandelier, not your plate. You'd have to tilt your whole head down to take a bite. In conversation, people would assume you're uninterested or distracted because you'd always be looking over their heads. In sports, baseball, impossible. You'd see the ball when it's directly above, then lose track when it comes down. It's like living your entire life in, I think I hear something in the attic mode. 7. Other upward lookers in the animal kingdom. The Barreleye isn't completely alone in this habit. Some other deep-sea creatures also look up by default, including hatchetfish, with upward-facing eyes to spot silhouettes; tripod fish, faces into the current with eyes angled upward for drifting prey; some deep-sea squids, eyes adapted to detect bioluminescent flashes from above. Still, the Barreleye takes it to an extreme with its highly specialized tubular design. 8. The evolutionary trade-off. Evolution is all about trade-offs. For the Barreleye, advantage: excellent detection of prey above and low light. Disadvantage: limited awareness of what's happening in other directions. In the deep sea, where predators aren't constantly chasing from every angle, this trade-off works. The Barreleye's body shape and slow movement mean it's not built for high-speed evasion anyway. Its best defense is to stay still and blend in, while keeping its sky-watch eyes alert for a meal. Number 9. A day in the life of a ceiling watcher. If we could follow a Barreleye for 24 hours, here's what we'd see. Morning, not that it matters here, drifting slowly, conserving energy. Eyes trained upward, watching for silhouettes. Midday, a faint glow appears above, perhaps a siphonophore trailing its tentacles. The Barreleye rotates its eyes forward, approaches, and nibbles at the prey caught in the stings. Afternoon, more drifting. The ocean above occasionally reveals the ghostly shapes of other fish passing by, but they're too far to reach. Evening, same as morning. The deep sea doesn't change much. The only shift is in the slow rain of marine snow falling from the surface world. It's a life of patience, and patience means A lot of staring at the ceiling. 10. When scientists finally saw the eye rotation before Mbari filmed a live Barreleye in 2009, scientists didn't realize its eyes could rotate forward. Earlier specimens caught in nets had damaged domes, so the eyes looked locked in place. The video revealed something incredible. The fish's eyes, normally aimed upward, pivoting smoothly toward the front when approaching food. That moment solved a decades-long mystery about how this strange-eyed fish actually eats, and confirmed that the transparent dome wasn't just a weird quirk, but part of a fully functional targeting system. Bar 11. Closing thoughts. The ocean's eternal stargazer. The Barreleye's upward gaze is more than just a visual oddity. It's a survival strategy honed by millions of years of evolution in a lightless world. It's a reminder that in nature, normal is whatever works, no matter how strange it looks to us. While we might think staring at the ceiling forever sounds boring, for the Barreleye, it's not boredom, it's life. And in a place where every flicker of movement above could mean dinner, keeping your eyes on the sky is the smartest move you can make. 4. You eat whatever drifts by. Life on the whatever comes my way. Diet. Why chase food when food might chase you? The Barreleye doesn't waste time darting after prey like tuna. It doesn't hover at a coral reef buffet like a parrotfish. Instead, it spends its days hanging motionless in the freezing blackness of the deep ocean, eyes locked upward, waiting for something edible to pass by. And by edible, we mean, well, whatever. Jellyfish, drifting plankton, stray shrimp, even leftovers stolen from another animal's catch. If you've ever been too lazy to cook dinner and just stared at your fridge, hoping food would magically appear, congratulations. You already understand the Barreleye's survival strategy. 1. Welcome to the midnight zone, the sea's slow lane. The Barreleye lives in the mesopelagic zone, also called the midnight zone. That's between 600 and 800 meters below the ocean surface. Down here, there's no sunlight, ever. Temperatures hover just above freezing. The pressure is hundreds of times greater than at the surface. And perhaps most importantly, food is scarce. Unlike the bustling coral reefs or sunlit shallows where algae grow and fish swarm, the midnight zone gets no photosynthesis-powered buffet. The only source of food is whatever drifts down from above, a slow rain of organic matter called marine snow. This is the Barreleye's entire grocery store. And the shelves, they're mostly empty. 2. The anatomy of a drifter. For a fish that survives entirely on things drifting by, the Barreleye's body is perfectly designed. Gelatinous flesh helps it float effortlessly without wasting energy. Long, delicate fins act like stabilizers, keeping it perfectly still in the water. Transparent dome protects its upward-facing eyes from stings and debris while giving it a panoramic view of passing snacks. This fish doesn't waste fuel zipping around. Instead, it hangs in a kind of slow-motion hover, fins barely twitching, eyes locked on the faint silhouettes above. It's the underwater equivalent of a person lounging in a recliner, just looking at the ceiling, waiting for dinner to be served. 3. What's on the menu? If you were hoping for a gourmet deep-sea feast, you're going to be disappointed. The Barreleye's menu includes jellyfish, not for the taste, which we can only assume is slimy sadness, but because they trap small prey in their tentacles. Tiny planktonic crustaceans, basically ocean popcorn. Small fish, usually already injured or dying. Marine snow, flakes of decomposing plants, animals, and poop slowly raining from the surface. It's not about what you want to eat, it's about what's available. And in the deep ocean, available is often slightly gross, but technically edible. 4. The jellyfish raid. Dinner with a side of danger. One of the Barreleye's most fascinating and risky tricks is stealing food straight from jellyfish tentacles. Picture this. A jellyfish floats by, its long, stinging tendrils trapping tiny shrimp. The Barreleye hovering below rotates its tubular eyes forward, calculates the angle, and slowly approaches. Its transparent dome acts like a built-in riot shield, letting it push its head into the tentacles without harming its delicate eyes. With a quick bite, it snatches the trapped prey, sometimes even nipping bits of jellyfish for dessert. It's not just lazy feeding, it's tactical theft. And in a world where calories are rare, a good heist is sometimes the best hunting strategy. 5. The science of whatever. From a biological perspective, the Barreleye's drift-based diet is a masterclass in energy economics. Here's why it works. Chasing food burns calories you might not be able to replace. Hovering in place costs very little energy thanks to neutral buoyancy. Currents do the work, delivering food from far away. It's the same reason crocodiles will sit in the water for hours waiting for prey. Why spend energy you don't have to? In the deep sea, the survival equation is simple. Calories gained must be greater than calories spent. For the Barreleye, the math checks out most of the time. 6. The downside of being a passive eater. Of course, there are some serious problems with the eat whatever drifts by approach. 1. Unpredictable meals. Some days food drifts by every few minutes. Other days, nothing shows up for hours or days. Second, competition. You're not the only one waiting. Other deep-sea creatures, shrimp, bristlemouths, squid, are also ready to grab that snack. 3. Accidental predators. Not everything drifting by is edible. Some prey are actually predators using bioluminescent lures. Mistake one for a snack, and you're the snack. It's a risky game, one that relies heavily on patience, awareness, and a little bit of luck. 7. If humans lived like this, imagine applying the Barreleye diet to your life. No grocery shopping, no cooking. You just sit in your living room all day, staring at the ceiling. Occasionally, a sandwich drifts past your face. You eat it. Sounds absurd and extremely boring. But for the Barreleye, this isn't just a lifestyle, it's survival. 8. How we know this at all. Before 2009, no one had seen a living Barreleye in its natural habitat. Then the Monterey Bay Aquarium Research Institute, MBARI, captured rare footage using a remotely operated vehicle. The video showed exactly what scientists had suspected. The Barreleye hovers motionless. It positions itself under drifting prey. It uses its transparent dome as protection during jellyfish raids. This confirmed that its strange anatomy isn't just weird, it's purposeful. The beauty of a slow life. In a world obsessed with speed and power, the Barreleye is proof that slow and steady can work, even in one of the harshest environments on Earth. It's not glamorous, it's not exciting, but it's efficient. And in the deep sea, efficiency is the ultimate survival tool. Narrator voice, the Barreleye doesn't chase dreams. It doesn't chase dinner. It waits and trusts that the ocean will deliver. Sometimes survival is simply about being ready when opportunity drifts by. 5. You live among nightmare neighbors, the deep sea's worst HOA. Most animals are born into communities. Birds have their flocks, wolves have their packs, humans have their cities, and then there's the Barreleye fish, who lives in the aquatic equivalent of a haunted house, inside a horror movie, inside another horror movie. The Barreleye's home, the Midnight Zone, is not a friendly place. It's 600 to 800 meters beneath the surface, where the sun never shines and the water is cold enough to make your bones ache. If you had bones you could actually feel. Down here there are no coral gardens or friendly schools of clownfish. Instead, the neighbors are the stuff of nightmares. Viperfish with fangs longer than your own head. Giant squid with tentacles like wet ropes tipped with teeth. Gulper eels with unhinged jaws that could swallow you like a noodle. The Barreleye is not built for combat. It's soft, fragile, basically a floating jelly dome with fins. Its best defense? Hover in silence and pray that the monsters pass by without noticing. 1. The neighborhood layout. Think of the midnight zone like an apartment block, but one where every other resident is an apex predator. The viperfish lives down the hall. Its mouth is a steel trap lined with glass-like fangs. It can sprint toward prey in a sudden burst, and its bioluminescent lure can trick you into thinking food's just ahead until you become the food. The giant squid is like the creepy recluse in the penthouse. It's rarely seen, but when it moves, entire corridors of the deep seem to shift. Tentacles covered in serrated suckers grope blindly through the black water. If one brushes against you, good luck. The gulper eel? That's the nightmare in the basement. It's got a mouth that opens so wide it looks like it could swallow your soul. It doesn't bother chasing. It just waits for something to float close enough. That something could be you, and there's no leaving, no moving to a safer street. The Barreleye's survival depends on staying in this exact depth range, just far enough down to be safe from surface predators, but deep enough to avoid freezing completely. 2. A closer look at the neighbors. 1. The viperfish, the ambush artist. Imagine a face made entirely of teeth, with the body of a torpedo and the temperament of a hangry velociraptor. That's the viperfish. They grow up to 60 centimeters long, but their fangs are so big they can't close their mouths fully. They sit motionless in the dark until a shadow passes by. Then they explode forward, skewering prey like a kebab. The barreleye knows the signs. A faint glow ahead, a sudden ripple in the water, then bam, an attack too fast for most creatures to dodge. Its survival strategy when a viperfish is near? Freeze. No fin movement. No sudden shifts. Become a piece of floating debris. Or 2. The giant squid, the phantom. If the deep sea had urban legends, the giant squid would be its boogeyman. These creatures can grow over 12 meters long, with eyes the size of dinner plates. They are ghostly pale, incredibly fast, and terrifyingly strong. Their long, feeding tentacles end in clubs lined with serrated suckers, perfect for holding on to struggling prey. The barreleye's advantage? It's so small and insignificant that the squid usually doesn't bother. Usually. Still, a wrong place, wrong time moment can mean getting swept into a tentacle's grip, and that's the end. 3. The gulper eel, the unhinged maw. This neighbor is pure nightmare fuel. Picture a snake-like body with a head that's 25% mouth. The gulper eel can open its jaws so wide it looks like it's turning itself inside out. It doesn't hunt actively. It waits. And in the deep sea, waiting works. The barreleye, with its slow drift and passive feeding style, can accidentally drift right into that cavernous mouth. The worst part? The gulper eel's stomach can stretch to fit prey twice its own size, which means, even if you think you're too big to be eaten, you're wrong. 3. Daily life in fear mode. The barreleye's existence is a constant balancing act between finding food and avoiding becoming food. Its gelatinous body is a blessing and a curse. It's too soft to put up a fight, but it's so non-threatening and unappetizing looking that some predators ignore it. Still, every shadow above could be prey or predator. Every ripple in the water could mean dinner or death. The barreleye's response to danger is the same every time. Stop moving. Blend into the background. Hope the predator's eyes slide right over you. It's not bravery, it's survival math. Strategies for staying alive. You can't outrun a viperfish. You can't outfight a squid. You can't out-open a gulper eel's mouth. So what do? 1. Hover low and slow. The less you move, the less attention you draw. In a place where most creatures hunt by detecting movement, stillness is invisibility. 2. Stick to the shadows. Even in darkness, there are gradients of black. Staying in the dimmest patches can break up your silhouette. 3. Know the currents. The barreleye's internal compass lets it drift into feeding grounds without getting too close to predator hotspots. It's the aquatic equivalent of living in a bad neighborhood, but knowing which streets are safe to walk down after dark. 5. The horror movie analogy. Living here is like being the side character in a horror film. You're not the villain. You're not the hero. You're the quiet one in the background just trying to make it to the end credits. But in the deep sea, the movie never ends. There's no rolling credits moment of safety. Every day the Barreleye wakes up, or drifts in its semi-conscious state, knowing the monsters are still out there. Verse 6, the irony of safety. Here's the twist. The very thing that makes the Midnight Zone terrifying is also what makes it survivable. Predators down here are adapted to a specific way of hunting. They rely on certain depths, certain prey sizes, certain energy strategies. The Barreleye's slow, quiet lifestyle slips under the radar of many of them. It's like living in a haunted house where the ghosts only attack people who run and scream. If you just don't do anything, you might be fine. 7. What humans can learn from the Barreleye. Oddly enough, there's a weird life lesson here. Sometimes survival isn't about being the strongest or fastest. Sometimes it's about being the least interesting option in a dangerous world. In other words, don't be the juiciest looking fish in the room. The Barreleye doesn't roar, it doesn't fight, it doesn't sprint. It waits, watches, and slips through the shadows while the monsters feed on someone else. In a world full of nightmare neighbors, sometimes the smartest move is to be invisible. 6. Zero dating prospects. Why love is tough when you're a transparent dome. Their intro, the loneliness of the deep sea. In the shallow waters of the world, fish flirt. They dance. They flash bright colors. They build nests. But for the Barreleye fish, well, let's just say Valentine's Day is basically a nightmare. Life for the Barreleye is lonely. It's not that it doesn't want companionship. It's that the very design of its body makes it difficult to date. It has a giant transparent head. Its eyes are locked upward most of the time. It drifts slowly in the dark, hovering in the deep sea equivalent of a ghost town. Even if another Barreleye passes nearby, the first impression is challenging. Oh, hi. I see your internal organs. Charming, right? Frame. The Midnight Zone matchmaking problem. Dating in the Barreleye's world isn't like in coral reefs, where bright colors, flashy fins, and dramatic courtship dances are standard. In the mesopelagic zone, there's no sunlight. Colors don't matter. Populations are sparse. Finding another of your species is like winning the lottery. Movement is slow. Meeting another fish by chance is rare. It's essentially online dating, but without the app, Wi-Fi, or any way to signal interest beyond subtle bioluminescent flashes. Even if you do find a potential mate, their first impression of you is your translucent dome. You're basically flashing your skeleton and some internal organs. In most fish dating circles, this is the equivalent of showing up to a first date in a spacesuit full of jelly. Go to the struggle of attractiveness. Barreleye fish aren't designed for sex appeal. Unlike other deep-sea fish that might glow or have elaborate fin displays, Barreleys rely on stealth and survival, not charm. Imagine the dating scene. Some fish have neon patterns that scream, "Look at me." Others use long fins or flaring gills to attract attention. Barreleys, they float quietly, making themselves almost invisible. The transparent head, while evolutionarily useful for protecting the eyes and improving vision, doesn't exactly scream, "Date me," in the deep sea. It's hard to broadcast your best features when your feature is all your insides are visible. 3. The biology of Barreleye reproduction. Despite their awkward appearance, Barreleys do reproduce. They just have a complicated method. Barreleys are oviparous, meaning females release eggs into the water column, which float and develop externally. Males release sperm into the water to fertilize eggs. There's no pair bonding or social courtship. In short, they don't need to woo each other with flashy displays. Reproduction is mostly a game of chance and timing, not charm or romance. This method works in a sparse environment, but it's basically love at first drift, and often more eggs are left unfertilized than successfully fertilized. 4. Surviving long enough to find a date. Another problem, barreleys live in the midnight zone, surrounded by predators and dangers. Even if you meet a potential mate, viperfish could be lurking nearby. Gulper eels might mistake one of you for dinner. Jellyfish stings could slow your approach. Dating is risky, literally. Any social interaction carries the danger of being eaten before passing on your genes. It's like online dating, but every swipe has a 50% chance of being fatal. 5. How fish try to signal love. Many deep-sea fish use bioluminescence to attract mates. Flashing patterns or glowing appendages help them stand out in the dark. Barreleys, not so much. They have no flashy lights. Their transparent head doesn't glow. Their eyes mostly look upward, so their options for signaling interest are limited. Slight rotations of their eyes forward, positioning near a potential mate while drifting, hoping their gentle movement doesn't scare the other fish away. It's subtle, it's slow, and in the deep sea, subtle often goes unnoticed. 6. Loneliness and survival strategy. The loneliness of the barreleye isn't just an emotional problem, it's a survival strategy. Being alone reduces the chance of attracting predators. Less movement equals less energy expenditure. Floating quietly and alone maximizes the chance of encountering food without competition. So, in a cruel twist of evolutionary irony, the very traits that make the barreleye an effective predator, or scavenger, also make it a poor romantic prospect. 7 human analogies. Let's bring this closer to home. Imagine trying to date while wearing a giant clear bubble over your head, moving slowly through a dark room, staring mostly at the ceiling. You can't show expressions. You can't make eye contact easily. Every attempt at communication is subtle and easily missed. Now imagine the room is filled with monsters that might eat you at any moment. That's barreleye dating. It's a lonely existence, a cosmic reminder that some creatures are designed for survival, not social interaction. 8. The irony of love in the deep. Despite all these difficulties, barreleys survive and reproduce. They are proof that you don't have to be flashy to be effective. Love doesn't have to be romantic to work. Sometimes drifting alone is the best strategy in a dangerous world. Their reproductive success is a testament to adaptation, even if romance is, well, non-existent. 9. Closing thoughts, the eternal single. The barreleye fish may never have a dinner date under the stars. It may never woo a partner with flashy lights or fancy fins. Its transparent head, upward gaze, and drifting lifestyle make it an unlikely candidate for romance. And yet, it survives, it thrives, and it continues the cycle of life, quietly reminding us that in nature, love isn't always about attraction. Sometimes it's just about showing up.